Hi, this is Tim from UK Home Gym, your home for UK specific independent home gym tips and advice. And today I'm going to talk to you about 5 space saving tips for home gym owners. Now, if you're like me and you don't have that much space in the area that you've set aside for your home gym, if you're here, if particularly if you're here in the UK, where we have some of the smallest homes in Europe, um, you know, we need to be very conscious about space and how we use it. And I have a lot of things I'm sure that anyone who has a home gym or who has aspirations of having a home gym has wild plans about what they would like their home gym to look like. But we've got to be realistic. And if space is an issue, which it almost certainly is, if you're watching this video, if space is an issue for you, um, then how can you maximize it? How can you do the best to make sure that your home gym gives you enough space to work out in? So number one tip is, and this is something that Coop from Garage Gym Reviews often says, he says, keep everything off the floor, have nothing on the floor. I couldn't agree with him more than that. You really, really, really need, and I struggle with this all the time because I always end up having things on the floor. But whenever I make the effort to get it up off the floor, I suddenly think, wow, look at all that space that I now have. Really, really good thing is to have like a sort of metal pegboard and put all of your attachments on there, handles for your dumbbells and stuff like that. Anything that can fit onto there. Maybe if you can get a longer one of those things, you can start putting some of your lighter barbells and stuff like that on there. If you've got little change plates, they can go up on there. If you've got clips, clamps, everything like that, brilliant. Just get it off the floor. Don't have it on shelves and stuff like that. Have it on a wall control thing. I think that's really good, really good. The second tip that I want to give you is weight trees. Now, I really love weight trees. I really love having my weight plates on those trees, and I think they are the sort of the best thing. Now, I do have like a sort of a toaster rack um, weight plate holder, which I use for bumper plates. Um, it's okay. It takes up quite a lot. It comes out quite far compared to a weight tree, which sort of stands up like that. And I think that the weight tree, that sort of A-frame sort of shape weight tree, is the best one for you. Alternatively, you could look at something where you would get your weight plates onto the wall, if that's possible. I've looked into things like these long hooks, very strong long hooks, metal hooks that would carry sort of like a tire or something like that. They could be an option if you are happy to sort of put them into the wall. I think there are a lot of DIY options where you could sort of have your weight plates up on the wall as well. Really good. But if that's not an option for you, the sort of you buy a sort of collapsible weight tree thing, you put it all up yourself or whatever, and then you just have that in a corner of your gym, and that sort of gets your weight plates out of the way. Because the worst thing to have is just weight plates leaning on the walls all over the place. It's going to really, really minimize the amount of space that you have. The next tip I want to talk about is if you can get things that are collapsible, if you can buy things that are collapsible, that is brilliant because they are so much easier to store if they're collapsible. Now, I think about the options for this is maybe if you have some kind of A-frame type pull-up bar, that's a possibility. I've seen those around, and they're quite good. Some of those are quite sturdy. You can sort of lean them against the wall or something like that when they're not in use. I don't have one of those. What I do have is a collapsible adjustable bench, which goes completely flat. It's not that sturdy in terms of, can you do really heavy bench press on it? Probably not, but it's good for all sorts of other uses. I do sort of advocate for a collapsible bench if possible. Maybe then you can sort of add a flat bench to that as well, because a really sturdy adjustable bench is going to take up a lot of space. Mine does. I got a a really sturdy adjustable bench, and you have to sort of wheel it around and lean it against the wall. It takes up, yeah, tons of space. The other thing that you can do is, if you have a cable set up, if, a DIY one particularly, if you can make that collapsible so to the point where you can just sort of put it to one side, that's great, because otherwise, if you've got like a big cable station, if you've bought a cable station, even if it's one that sort of bolts into the wall, that's going to take up a lot of space as well. So, if possible, and if cables are something that you like, think about a way that you can just put it all away. Maybe it's something that sort of bolts onto your rack, or maybe it's something that you can sort of tie onto the rack and then remove when you can, so that you have that space available to you when you need. So the next point is sort of ties into what I was just talking about when I was mentioning squat racks. If you are going to have a squat rack in your home gym, um, it's going to be made of metal, and use that to your advantage. Use the fact that it's made of metal by getting yourself magnetic hooks. I get, these magnetic hooks, various different types, put them all over my squat rack, and I just hang everything off there, and it just saves me a lot of space. I hang, my lifting shoes off there, my belt, some little bits, some little accessories and stuff like that, some sleeves and stuff like that, from like arm sleeves, bands and stuff like that. Just keep everything up there if you can, and then it's easy to find them, and then it saves you space, that sort of dead space on the back of your squat rack or something like that, or if you've got a high post on there, and you can't reach that up, put something up on there. Um, Use as much as you can of those things. And some of the magnetic hooks you can buy are actually quite strong. They're not going to, fall off or anything like that. Um, really, really good to just keep stuff in places where you can remember where they are, and to keep it away from, cluttering up some, ending up with some sort of box of various odds and ends that you don't, sort of takes up more space in your gym. Um, and the last tip, maybe it sounds very obvious, but you do have to sort of remind yourself of this when you do have a home gym, and that is, be really, really picky about the kind of equipment that you buy. Um, how versatile is it? How easy is it to store? Do I really need it? I'll give you an example. There is a machine I would dearly love to buy, and often if it goes on sale, I'm so tempted. And that is like a sort of a lat pull down low row machine. And I look at those and I think, okay, if I can get a plate loaded version of that, I would love it, because I love the low row, I love the lat pull down, but with my DIY cable setup, it's always a struggle to sort of get yourself locked into a good position. And with a machine, you could definitely do that. I often look at it, that the thing that stops me from buying it is the fact that you can only do two exercises on it, really. Two exercises that I'd love to do and I would spam and I would do all the time, but the space is going to be a constriction. So, you know, though I would love to do those exercises, there are other exercises that come very close to sort of doing what I'd like to do there. So instead of the low row there, I can do like a sort of a variation on sort of like the T-bar row. I use the V-bar. Um, I sort of, I use a sort of landmine kind of attachment thing, that goes into a weight plate. And, it gives me a similar kind of experience to the low row. It's not quite the same. You're going to have to make these compromises, basically, is the story from that one. You're going to have to be very picky, and you're going to have to sort of, there has to be a sort of voice in your head saying, look, this isn't realistic in terms of space. And you have to listen to that voice, basically. Even though sometimes you will be screaming at it to say, let me get a preacher curl station or something like that, unless you've got a really big space. you're not going to be able to do that. So be very picky. Okay, so those are my 5 tips about how to save space if you have a limited area that you can work out in for your home gym. Please let me know if you have any other space saving ideas. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. That really helps me to grow the channel. Please also check out our website, that's ukhomegym.com. And I'll see you next time on UK Home Gym.